Hello, I'm Patty Hobbick, President and CEO of Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. I'm so happy to have you here with us as we celebrate 5 years in the food bank. It's wonderful to take a moment and think back on the journey that got us here into this beautiful 40,000 square foot facility, which is designed to feed our neighbors in need and address food insecurity head on. So many people and organizations in our community came together to make this possible. I thank you, and your community thanks you. One of our respected former board members, John Walker, had a passion for our mission, and he had a vision to build a Northeast Wisconsin food bank that would serve the hungry in our Northeast Wisconsin communities. Sadly, he passed away just a year before we broke ground, but his presence and passion were felt by many, including his family, during our grand opening in 2015. A plaque in our warehouse honors his efforts, his vision, and his time that he served on the board of Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. When the construction finally started in the spring of 2015, it was exciting to watch the progress each day and to see our vision of this food bank come to life. For many years prior to building this facility, we were operating out of a tiny Amro warehouse while a sign with our logo sat on this property waiting for the building to be funded and erected. As we fundraised for this capital campaign, my car served as my office. Armed with a laptop and a cell phone, I had many conversations about how a food bank in the Fox Valley would help us move towards hunger solutions as we strengthen the hunger relief network in Northeast Wisconsin. Now our team of 20 staff in the Fox Valley comes together here each day with volunteers to serve our community and identify new hunger solutions. We know that solving hunger isn't something we can do alone. It requires collaboration and commitment from the communities where we live and serve. From 16,000 volunteer hours that first year we opened to more than double that in recent years, so many have stepped up to help us in our mission to solve hunger. Generous donations continue to fill our warehouse with healthy food for our pantries. In fact, in just 5 years, we have distributed more than 50 million pounds of food from this facility. Over 150 pantry partners in the Northeast have helped us provide these meals to local families facing hunger. We have so many to thank for helping us make Fox Valley our home and helping us live out our mission for years to come. I want to introduce you to some of the people and organizations that make this critical work possible.
Originally, we were looking for a donation of a building and had a number of very generous donors who were willing to give us a spot. But because of the unique needs that we have, particularly with the thickness of the concrete that's required for the fork trucks and the size of the freezer space, it actually, despite the fact that we could get a building donated to us, it would have cost us more to retrofit it than to build ones. I had never done a capital campaign before, so when I was asked to chair it, it was kind of trial by fire. We got very fortunate that Patty had a lot of experience, and once people understood the mission and the need, it's an incredibly generous group here in Northeast Wisconsin, and the donors were just really willing to get on board once they learned about it. The biggest challenge we had was educating people about what Feeding America of Eastern Wisconsin was, why it was needed, and how it would fit into the community and be a good organization for people to support. But once we were able to tell that story, which was a pretty great story to tell, people pretty quickly lined up behind it in support of it, and kind of one of those things where you never know what you're capable of until you try it. And when you look back, it's a moment where you can be really proud of the area we live in and the generosity of this community. It's just reaffirmed what I already knew, which is that this is a great place to live and work. I remember the grand opening when I gave the speech to have the grand opening. One of the things that I got a little emotional about was the number of people that we were going to be able to help with this facility and how beautiful it is. It's just amazing. It turned out fantastic. And but I really, honestly, as much as I had high expectations, I had no idea the scope of the impact. It's been so much bigger than even I would have imagined. As I've said from the day I came on the board, I hope someday nobody needs Feeding America of Eastern Wisconsin and we can convert this to a warehouse for furniture or something. But in the meantime, I know that there's a tremendous need, and it's really providing a very valuable service where there really is nothing else like it to fill that gap. I would say I've gotten far more from this organization than I've given. The people are fantastic. Some of the experiences, whether it's the all-night packing of rice with the folks from Oshkosh Truck and Werner Electric and others, or just coming through and seeing on the tours the people who say, you know, boy, if it weren't for you guys, I don't know how I would be feeding my family. That touches you. It's a very visible reminder of what can happen when good people come together.
Hi, I'm Kelsey McElrath, Chair of the Jewelers Mutual Charitable Giving Committee. Happy 5-year anniversary, Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. Jewelers Mutual was the first organization in our area to pledge a capital campaign to help you build your new facility, and we couldn't be more proud of your results. You have done an amazing job helping fight hunger in the Fox Cities area, as well as the rest of eastern Wisconsin. Your work is critical to make sure that no one is going hungry in our area. Hunger is invisible, and we don't know who needs support until they do need support, and that's when you are there for them. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
And the first day that I volunteered, the volunteer coordinator that was here at the time, she overheard me tell about my favorite cake, and she picked up on when my birthday was. So then my birthday happened to be February 10th. I walked in and here they had a birthday cake for me. Here I worked here for just a couple months. I get a birthday cake, and after 30 years of working at the company I was with her, you know, before retirement, you know, here they never gave me a thing but more work. The reason I volunteer anyway is I got 3 brothers that are veterans. They didn't accept me in the military. So that I decided to help the community out by volunteering in my retirement years. Well, I keep on coming back for the camaraderie and the work with the other people. It's enjoyment. I can look forward to it every day. It's really enjoyable because I feel good when I get home at the end of the morning. You know, that I accomplished something because we know it's a big need.
In 2015, we took a big leap to strengthen our partnership in northern Wisconsin to develop a new facility now known as the Little Chute location. You know, the project wasn't easy, but as the chairman of the board, I saw the passion and the credibility of a man that we now know as John Walker. He served as the past board chair as well. And you know, I cannot forget the diligent work of Bill Bone, another past chairman of the board of directors. Together with the board of directors and the staff, we were able to get the job done.
There's always something extremely special being involved with a project that you know is going to have such a big impact in our community. Our job is construction. We don't save lives. But working with awesome companies such as Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin, that they get to do just that every day. I have an extreme sense of pride every time I drive by this building. So much so that I think my pride's worn out, especially with my family. Our family joke is, or at least to me, is we can't get within a half mile from here, and my kids will already come out of the back seat and say, "We already know, Dad, you were part of this construction project." So obviously I've expressed my pride numerous times to them. This was one of my last projects before moving on to other roles in Byron, which is always near and dear to your heart, last project, and especially one that has so much meaning to the community. It's always something when you're working with the people from the organization. You can have a great company that does great things, but working with the people is what really makes a difference. So I guess the person that sticks out to me coming down the home stretch at the end was Patty. Patty took the company that I see from the outside, which does amazing things, and then really made it just one awesome team to create a project. So on top of a project and having an organization that stands for so many great things, that really is what sticks near and dear to my heart was the synergy that the two companies had together. Pretty cool. It's just a special place, way different than what you drive by on the outside, but to really know what goes on inside is pretty incredible.
This is the lobby of Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. We're going to begin a tour here. We're so proud to celebrate 5 years in this beautiful facility, and I'm excited to show you around and give you a tour of what we've been up to for the last 5 years. I'd like to introduce you to our special boardroom. When we built this facility, we built this boardroom anticipating that our board would become a regional board, not heavily located in one or the other of our facilities, but would be representative of all over. So this boardroom was built so we can have board meetings here in our Northeast Wisconsin facility. It's actually extra special to me because we named it in honor of Bill Bone. It's actually called the Bill Bone Boardroom. And it is because without Bill, we really wouldn't have this facility. facility. Bill did a lot of heavy lifting to make this facility happen, and we honored him by naming the boardroom after him. Welcome to the Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin Green Room. This room was lovingly named the Green Room because of the donated green chairs, and also on grand opening we had Amon Green in here signing autographs. It's kind of a fun room. This room is used for sharing with the community. So we've had nonprofit groups that might come in here if they need extra space and they need to borrow the space. We also have corporate groups who will come in here and use this space for meetings and then might go and do a volunteer event and have lunch in our volunteer center. This room is also for future expansion space. If we would ever need to expand the facility or our office space, this is where we would start. Okay, we are now in a very special space. This is the clean room, and it's very unique. There's not many of these in food banks in any part of the country that was built to standards like this. This is a USDA grade food bank, which means that we can control the temperature, we can control the humidity, and every evening and before we do any projects in here, it's sanitized top to bottom, and it's a lot of fun. There's bubbles everywhere as we're sanitizing all the equipment and this room in general. It's here where we're going to do a lot of our bulk repack. So if we're repacking grains or rice or pasta or cereal, something that's open to where the food is exposed, this is the area that we're doing it. Our volunteers will be dressed in garb, top to bottom, hairnets, gloves, aprons, the whole ensemble. But this is very unique, and it has allowed us to access food that many other places can't access and distribute that food at a very low cost or free compared to what you would buy if you were buying it at full cost at the store. This part of our warehouse was designed forward thinking. What we were thinking when we did this is we knew we were going to get more and more into that fresh food and the health and nutrition. So what we designed is almost a third of the building is cooler and freezer space. So you can't see the depth of the cooler, nor can you see the width of the cooler, but this is a very large cooler kept at -10 degrees. And what we put in there is a lot of frozen vegetables, fresh vegetables that come right from the manufacturer. We put in there a lot of our proteins. Meats is one of our biggest items, is all stored in there as well. So knowing ahead of time to have a very large freezer and 2 very large coolers allows us now to shift and adjust our inventory to obtain more of that fresh produce and important protein product. We are now in our Fox Communities Credit Union Volunteer Center. This is a really special room because our volunteers come in here before every volunteer shift and learn about the job they're about to do in the warehouse. What they're learning about is very basic safety, food safety and handling so that they can be safe and our product can be safe throughout their volunteer shift. We have a lot of eager volunteers. We use a lot of volunteer hours. So this room is always a lot of fun when it's bustling full of people. We also have our demonstration kitchen. Our demonstration kitchen is where we test recipes or we'll videotape recipes so we can help clients who will ultimately receive the food that we're distributing learn about the food that they're getting, the nutritional value of it, and how they might be able to use that product in their own cooking at home.
I believe and know that Fox Communities Credit Union believed that this was an especially important room to fund because community is more, for financial institutions, is more than just money, right? So we have many team members at Fox that spend a good amount of time here helping and wanting to help in the community. And I think when you think about poverty and you think about hunger, I think there's more than just a check especially in financial institutions. I mean, ultimately as a credit union, we believe that people need to help people. And to be able to do that, we felt this was especially important to be able to give back both in volunteer hours and from a financial perspective as well. I've witnessed Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin make a huge amount of impacts in the last 5 years. And I think when I take a look back on that, we think about especially the impacts in the last handful of years, but more specifically within the last year and a half, say with pre-COVID and now COVID conditions, we knew that we needed to be able to help the people that weren't going to be getting meals at night and weren't going to be there for their children necessarily, right? I don't think anyone ever believed how complicated the situation was going to get in the last 12 months when it comes to what the supply was going to look like, what the demand was going to look like. And really, if you think about it, I don't think that we could have helped nearly as many people if we didn't have an organization like Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. Supporting Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin has never been more important. I really didn't realize locally, right, and I grew up in a family that I think on some level believed that the Fox Cities didn't have any poverty, right? The Fox Cities didn't have people going hungry at night. I think that's a misnomer within our community locally that people don't really talk about or don't understand. Now more than ever, we all need to step up, volunteer where we can and help out. And I think you're going to see, I know you're going to see Fox Communities Credit Union continue to support with both monetary vision as well as the support from our dedicated team members that love to come here and help. So yeah, I think it's more important than it's ever been.
Hi, I'm Greg Vandenberg. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Giving at US Venture. We are incredibly privileged to be partners with Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin, and we're thrilled to be able to support the capital campaign for your new facility on Highway 41 in Little Chute. It's really such an important piece of our hunger relief efforts and food insecurity efforts here, really throughout almost half the state. And we, as a distribution company and a supply chain company to the transportation industry, we fully understand the need for a strong supply chain, strong logistics, and Feeding America has really been an integral part of being just a huge resource for so many pantries. We know that there are often huge food insecurities and food deserts, especially in our rural communities, and Feeding America has really been a critical answer to a lot of those problems. And so those of us at US Venture and the Schmidt Family Foundation, again, we're humbled that we're able to call you partners. We're thrilled with the work that you're able to do. You know, hunger relief is really important because to a person, our founders of US Venture, our members of our board at US Venture Schmidt Family Foundation, we never want a child or a family to go to sleep hungry. We really feel like it's, from a compassion standpoint, it's really important, not just that kids aren't hungry, that families don't go to bed without a full belly, but also that we understand that nutrition, that food is medicine. And Feeding America has really done a remarkable job in really trying to build, again, food, fruit, produce, really healthy proteins, healthy options for a lot of our food deserts, a lot of our families who don't have access to those great foods. And we know it's something that's critical, and we know that there's a direct tie to their social determinants of health. We know that when we have nutritious food available to those in need, they're going to live longer, their life expectancy will increase, they'll see less diabetes, or it'll be better controlled, they'll see less heart disease. And we see Feeding America as just an incredible resource and a key cog in being able to provide that throughout our entire region. And I think when I drive by your facility on Highway 41 as a resident of Little Chute, I'm incredibly proud that you chose this small little Dutch village to put such an impactful organization and an impactful resource here. And on top of that, as a US Venture employee and someone who has the great privilege to be able to invest in nonprofits and the great work that you do, I always just have a great sense of pride and really feel blessed, not only as a person, as a father and husband, but also as a community member and as an employee of US Venture. Just really proud of the fact that we were able to, again, support this really incredible, important initiative, and to see how far you've taken it just in 5 years and really grown to fit and fulfill the needs of large-scale pantries and small-scale rural pantries. We can't wait to see what the next 5 years brings, and we just really appreciate the commitment to collaboration, because as thought leaders and having a huge commitment to trying to end poverty in Northeast Wisconsin, US Venture is passionate about this, and we fully realize how Feeding America have been some of the greatest collaborators around food insecurity and the system behind it. And so we just want to say thank you, congratulations on 5 years, and let's keep going together.
Salvation Army's been working with Feeding America. We've been a partner of Feeding America for probably about 15 years, much more advanced today. This facility too, I mean, you've got your meeting room, and you guys have held meetings out here, your offices, and when it was in Omro, really it was a warehouse. Omro had a difficult time with the amount of food that we needed. So we ended up going down to Milwaukee, which at that point we knew that the plans were in place for Feeding America to come to Fox Cities, which was really happy to hear and supported that wholeheartedly. Going to Milwaukee, you're talking 100 plus miles, was a lot more difficult to get down there. So when we heard that Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin was coming to the Fox Cities, we were really excited for a number of reasons. One, you're closer to where a lot is happening. And there's a large number of people in the Fox Cities that do need the food. And we didn't have to drive as far. So planning pickup times, when you have part-time drivers, it makes it a lot more challenging for us to try and set up times for us to pick up food if we know we got to drive an hour and a half or 2 hours sometimes. So it was really great being in this vicinity. It really is. The Salvation Army Fox Cities Pantry clients benefit by Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin being here because the produce, we can get it much quicker. The breads, all those items we can get much quicker, get out onto the floor much quicker for people to get. They're able to get food that they weren't able to before. And I'll use the Black Creek Salvation Army Bread for Life Center as an example. They're in northern Outagamie County. A small group of people, just wonderful volunteers. They work their hearts out to try and put food on the shelves, but being a rural community, they don't get a lot of donations. So when Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin moved to the Fox Cities, they now can come here as well. They were piggybacking on us for some time when we would go down to Omro, or they would get their car and their trailer and drive down there too. But really the benefit to the rural communities, especially the rural communities, has been incredible because they can now get the produce too and not have to travel as far either. So it really is a benefit to the larger and the smaller pantries. Supporting Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin really is critical because being a food bank allows us to then focus on feeding families and the individuals. Your purpose is to help get the food so that you can get it to the pantries. That is a huge relief off of our shoulders. We're not contacting the corporations. We're not contacting the stores. We don't have to do that because you can.
Well, when you think about the basic needs that every individual needs, food, shelter, clothing are top of the list. And we know that hunger is a persistent issue. It's an issue here, it's an issue everywhere. And addressing hunger and providing for those basic needs is something that it's a bedrock on which this community has been built for generations of people and families. We really care about our neighbors and the families who live next door and down the block, and frankly, the people that we don't even know. There's just that sense of people coming together and wanting to help. Well, it's pretty amazing to think about the center being built here and all the collaborations and the relationships that have been built in that time. I've noticed from the vantage point of the Community Foundation how the food system has changed. And I know that that's something that's very near and dear to the mission here. But honestly, it's all the food pantries, the people who donate food, who collect food. The system is so much better today than it ever has been. And now we sit in the middle of a pandemic, and you think about what this region, what this community would be like for a lot of people if it weren't for having the capacity and the wherewithal of a major hub like Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. And it's a little scary to think about that. And we're fortunate there was enough foresight and courage and generous donor activity that caused this to happen, and it's thriving. When I drive by, I think back to one of our donors in the Community Foundation who was one of the early supporters. And this is our most anonymous, under the radar screen donor that we have, but it's somebody who cares deeply about hunger and about helping other people. And I know that that gift, at the time that it was made and the leverage that it developed, really was one of the principal reasons why this facility exists here today. All the efforts that our region puts toward basic needs, the generous activity that we have each and every year. And despite all the best efforts and all the monies donated, we still haven't fully addressed the issue. And it's an organization like Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin, with a major facility right here in the heart of our community, gives us an opportunity to think about that we can actually solve this. And we have a fighting chance. The way I see the food system working here in northeastern Wisconsin, it's generous contributions to our food pantries directly, to all of our food banks, to our nonprofit organizations, and major hubs like Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. And without that system and the way that it's interconnected and the mechanisms through which people get what they need, it doesn't happen. And the major driver of that is really right here, and we're grateful for that.
Hi, I'm Mike Fordney, Board Chair of Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. I joined the board in 2013, just as the Fox Valley operations were being expanded. The fundraising efforts paid off so well that we were able to open the facility a full year earlier than planned. This gave us a chance to get to know our pantry partners that we had been serving from other areas, but more in their community, and it paid off. Ideas came out of it, included a new bulk processing facility that allowed us to take full semi-load of food and repackage it for use by consumers. This really paid off, especially when COVID came around. Everything changed. The need was incredible. In the Fox River Valley operation alone, the people impacted by hunger were increased by 300,000 people. But we made it happen, and we still are, thanks to our donors, the federal and state agencies that supported us, and our incredible staff and volunteers. Together, we are solving hunger. Thank you very much.
We are so grateful to be here supporting the Northeast Wisconsin community. Thanks to our many donors, volunteers, pantry partners, and staff. Together, we are feeding our neighbors in need. The work we do together is critical, especially now with a surge in hunger like we have never seen due to the coronavirus pandemic. But we're here for you, we're here for the community, and we are here for the long haul. Whatever the future brings, we're poised to meet the need thanks to our friends and our supporters. We are solving hunger in Northeast Wisconsin, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for celebrating this milestone with us. Cheers to 5 years, and here's to many more.